Water.
It's Clobberin time.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger, ready to move out.
Clobberin.
Yeah, buddy.
Clobberanimo.
Hey, my friends. Welcome to Clobberin Times Monday Night Mark C. Comics Talk. This is Clobberin Times issue number 477 overall on YouTube, of course, but 1,177 overall. And thank you for being here with us tonight on this this big but sad, kind of a sad Monday night, I'm afraid, because we just got some news. Want to before we get started with all the fun stuff, because we're going to still have fun tonight. Just say something, and we'll talk about it later in the week, of course. For those who don't know, Clobberin Times would like to extend a very heartfelt condolences to the Kirstie Alley's family. What a lovely actress, of course, as we all know, this being a Star Trek channel. We, love her from, of course, her appearance in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. A lot of people, of course, remember her from Cheers and, of course, many other things. And it's just a very sad night. This was very actually unexpected. She was, I think, 70, 71 years old, whatever it was. And no one really, I used to see her tweet on Twitter all the time and talk about various things. She was fairly active on there, and just a damn shame. So rest in peace, Kirstie Alley. Clobberin Time loves you, and we will, of course, later in the week, we'll talk about it in the clubhouse and on Saturday Night Star Trek. So just a damn shame. And welcome, everybody. Of course, I'm proud to welcome back a very dear friend of mine that I have been friends with for a long, long time. Of course, he has, and there's a link in my description below, a great YouTube channel. It's of course, Comics Mania. This is Carlos. Hey, buddy.
What's up? Great to be back.
Hey, man. Sorry it was a downer note to start out there with, but I'm glad to have you here.
We've had a lot of those recently. I mean, last
Yes.
time when I was doing my show, I had to announce the Jason David Frank.
Yeah, a couple weeks back.
The Green Power Ranger.
And then Kevin Conroy, dude.
That one hurt.
Killer. That hurt.
We've had a lot of a lot of people passing away. It really hurts. But I mean, when it was
Yes.
Kevin Conroy, I remember just opening my Instagram and somebody posted it. I'm like, what
Right.
this has to be a joke, please. I'm not ready for this. And then you start
That was
just
tough.
seeing it, and I'm so fortunate. Long story short, I actually have a poster with his signature on it, and I always loved that poster. But now it's like 10 times more important in my life because I have something from the man in my house.
Yes.
It's
Yes, he was very nice to me the time I got to meet him, and everyone who has met him and
Yes.
encountered him talks about what a great guy he was. He was a phenomenal human being. And yeah, that one hit close to home for both you and me as Batman fans, whereas a lot of people, for example, who were Power Rangers fans really felt it for the Jason David Frank fellow that you mentioned, because they all met him and he was really, they all have these encounters. He had, like Kevin Conroy, he had very good reputation with his fans and things like that. So just hurts.
The one thing that I think is amazing about Kevin Conroy, I think every Batman fan, be it an old-time fan like you and I, or the newer fans, we will discuss and argue over who's the better Batman from here to eternity. Some people will say, Ben Affleck, some will say Robert Pattinson, some will of course say Michael Keaton, but
I'll say Adam West, but yeah,
but the one person we can all agree that is the voice of
the
Batman
voice,
is
the
Kevin
voice
Conroy.
of the Bat.
That's it. I mean,
That's right.
Here in Mexico, and this, I don't know if you guys know this, but Mexicans are very lazy and they refuse to read. So when they go to the movies or they watch TV, they don't watch it with subtitles. They watch the dub version because they don't want to.
Okay.
You see, they don't want to read. They just want to hear it in Spanish.
The dub, yeah. I got you.
So here in Mexico, the guys that do the dubbing are like all superstars. They go to conventions and they sign autographs.
Wow, I didn't know that.
The guy that does the voice for Homer Simpson is just like the most famous, actor here, like voice actor here in Mexico.
In Mexico, you mean voice? Okay, gotcha. Voice actor.
Yeah, voice actor. And
right.
And I go, but why? He's not doing anything new. He's only imitating Dan Castellaneta.
Yeah, but he's big there. He's big over there, huh? I did not know that's
huge. The guy that does Mr. Burns, he was fired, and he still goes to conventions as Mr. Burns, and people love him.
Yeah, I remember that. I forget the name, Harry something or other, that actor.
Yeah, Harry Shearer.
Harry Shearer. Yeah.
But here in Mexico, we have a guy who does the voice of Mr. Burns, or he did the voice of Mr. Burns in the Simpsons cartoon. He got fired, and he still goes to conventions, and he's still super famous. Because here in Mexico, people just do not like to read. But even with my friends here in Mexico that hate to read, even they agree the voice of Batman is Kevin Conroy. So he goes through the laziness of Mexicans, straight to the heart of the thing. Kevin Conroy was, and will always be the voice of Batman, and it just killed me.
Everybody out there, by the way, that is a Mexican gentleman saying that, not me. So just so you cover my ass.
I was born here in Mexico. My parents are Mexican. My mother, much like the name Namor, is Mayan. So there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, everybody. So
I'll get more Mexican than that.
Of course. Show notes, everybody, before we say our shout outs and then get around to our beeswax of the night. Tomorrow night, of course, I should be over there hanging out with Tom and the great Midnight's Edge After Dark gang, as always, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm always honored to be on their wonderful channel with them on the panel. I believe Wednesday night, Loki is planning a comic book roundtable for 7 p.m. Central, so I should be hanging out with him and others on that channel, hopefully. And then after that, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, the great Michael French of Retro Blasting, my good friend, will be joining me. We're just going to hang out. We don't have a specific topic this time. We're just going to hang out and hopefully just do that. Hang out, talk about various geek things, because usually we have specific topics, but sometimes it's fun to just go off the cuff a little bit and just cover a bunch of what's going on, sort of a year in review type thingy, if you will. And then, of course, Thursday night, Mark and Raquel will be joining me, as always, for Clobby'S Clubhouse. Well, actually, before that, I'll be on Midnight's Edge After Dark, as usual. And then Clobby'S Clubhouse at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time with Raquel and Mark. talking about various, the stuff we always talk about in the clubhouse. You all know that. And then Friday night, I'll be at Nick's Comic Shop stream, 8:30 Central over there. Nick's Comic Shop with the Comic Shop gang. And then Saturday night, Star Trek with 4 more episodes. We're just now starting season 4 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, reviewing it. And so that's, of course, we had a great time. Thank you all who joined us, by the way, on Saturday night for Saturday Night Star Trek this past week. What a great crowd. What a bunch of fun we had. It is just so great. And Raquel and Mark, thank you as well. Raquel and I, of course, always review the episodes, and Mark comes on later and hangs out with us a little bit. So 4 more to go in that one. And then hey, had a fun on Mark D's channel last night with the Sunday Night Geekery gang, meeting basically the 2 of us. So now we will say a few shout outs quickly, Carlos, and then we will get on to our comics, Clobby'S Classic Comics Review.
Sure.
First of all, let's see here. Of course, as always, the Wrenchers, my fantastic Wrenchers, always get the shout out, even when they're not here, but I think they're here tonight. Eric K., the Bronze Wrencher. Good to see you there, buddy. Always great to have you, man. The Vindicator Wrench of the North. Up in Canada, the great Chris Persia. My good buddy, the Wrench of Iron. D. Bud Martin. George Tuska forever. He will make that case for George Tuska. All righty. And I think, I don't know if Fanty's out here or not, but anyway, Fanny Outsider. If you're here, Phantom Outsider. And, of course, Lord LT. If you're here, Avon lives, and long live the Legion, buddy. And, so, yeah, now let's see who else is here with us tonight. J-Man, brother, good to see you. Also a partner in crime on many reviews. We're coming up a couple weeks back. Carlos, J-Man, and I reviewed Brave and the Bold number 124 from 1976, I believe, or 74, whatever. It was Bob Haney, insane classic, those crazy Bob Haney Batman. We're going to start delving into the world of more into the world of Bob Haney, the craziest, wackiest comics ever. And so J-Man did that with me. It was a lot of fun. Oh, look who's here. Polymies Minion is here. And of course, you got to go with the Clobberin Times original doggy, the pupper. Yay, puppy. Pupper, I hope you're doing well, Polymies. It is good to see you, my dear. Thank you for being here tonight. Both hands on the wheel, young lady. Because he's out there and trucking around the roads. Who else is here with us? Skogly Jatoon, good to see you there, buddy. Thank you for being here. Hungry for a Fim anti-hero, cool as Servalan. That name gets longer and longer, Hungry Boy. The great official artist of Clobberin Times and artist of the cover of Raquel's wonderful new book, by the way. My strongly advise you all to check out. That is his Science Fiction Tales by R.M. Briggs. Please, thank you all who have ordered the book. We appreciate that. Let's see here. Who else? See. Michael Carney. Hey there. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you for being here. Kal-El, buddy, the super one. Stephen M. Good to see you, bro. J.J. Kirk is here. Hey, buddy. Let's see. Anybody else? Nami. Hello there, Nami. Lovely lady. It is good to see you here. It is. Thank you for popping in. The Monday Night Mark C Comics Talk. And let's see what else. Who else is here? We'll get to start. Oh, Captain James T. Skywalker. One of the greatest names ever. I mean, you've mixed up 2 great heroes together. I mean, way it goes. Okay. Yes, Bob Haney forever, buddy. The Bob Haney fan club starts here, Clobberin Times. Now, speaking of Bob Haney, a character that he made his bank on was Batman, but we know there's a lot more to Batman than Bob Haney. A lot more to Batman than everything. And there is no greater Batman fan, no greater Batman expert than my dear friend Carlos. He is my go-to guy on comic. He's my comic book Google anyway. He's got a great, mind for remembering comics. He's read things like that. And of course, he loves Batman as many of us do, and it's his favorite character. And we have known each other for what, like 30-something years now, unfortunately for you, but fortunately for me.
It's what? I'm thinking about what, 92, 93?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, almost 30, dude. Yeah.
Long time
30
ago.
years, dude. I am old. Even you're old, but you get to call yourself old now.
What? How old am I? I'm way too old.
No, you don't have to say that. I'm just saying you're old. Now, you officially, when you get to where you are, you get to say you're old. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the only, again, like I always say, the only real benefit of being old is old is being able to blame shit on being old. Like, hey man, I know I screwed up, but I'm old. Yeah.
Well,
That's all you get. Yeah.
But like with me, it's not so much that I forget stuff or whatever. With me, it's that I go to the gym every day, and there's just much more pain than when I was 20.
Right.
So like whenever I try to lift anything, I'm like, oh my god, I'm dying over here. But I try because not only do I love Batman as a concept, the comic, the character, I just love everything about him. I also go to conventions and I do the cosplay thing, even though I'm way too old to be doing the cosplay thing.
No, you look great in the costumes, buddy. You rock them.
I try to do the best Batman I can, and thankfully, people have always said that out of every character that I've ever cosplayed, my Batman is just my best, and they say that I look amazing as Batman, and I'm like so very proud because it took me forever to even attempt to do a Batman cosplay because he's such an important part of my just growing up that I wanted him. I wanted to do him justice. I did not want to do a half-assed kind of thing with Batman because I love the character. Just there's something about that character that just speaks to me and has always spoken to me. And I like a lot of Marvel and DC characters, a lot of them. But Batman has always been number one. He has never taken
of course
to anybody.
Of course. J-Man, good night, buddy. Good night. Good to see you. And Nami, 93, huh? You were born in 93. I was just getting old in 93. But I love having you here. I love having you here, Nami. It's good to see you.
My God. That is so sad.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to hear the sad? No, I'm going to tell you the saddest thing. The last girlfriend that I had was born in 99. So there you go.
All right. Cut it out with that. Oh man. Yeah, like I'm complaining. I'm just jealous, Look, we old guys.
Every time I talked about my younger days, she makes fun of me, and and one time I had to go get whatchamacallit,
show off
like an X-ray for my. I had to get an X-ray for my arm and my
show off.
That's true. I'm sorry.
God, damn it.
She's very cute, and she had to take me to the doctor to get like an X-ray for my shoulder that was because I was lifting too much and whatever. And she goes and she actually said to me, I'm actually taking care of a grandpa because she's
oh my God,
when you get to a certain age you have to go to the doctor and get like X-rays on all your body parts because everything hurts.
Oh yeah. Trevor Cunningham, good to see you, buddy. Just Joe, Jobber, buddy, good to see you. And that is also part of the fun of being young. You get to make fun of us old people. It's only fair. We did it when we were young, so we all do it. So,
but okay,
a little bit of background on this comic here, folks. This young gentleman that I'm speaking with tonight. We, of course, like I said, we've known each other for 30 years now. We've sussed that out. You all know, and we won't go too deep into it. Our dear departed friend Mark C., who this show is eternally named after, was a big John Byrne fan. And he and I used to argue about John Byrne a lot because I've had my issues with John Byrne. You all know they're all well documented here. You know them, Carlos, but I'm saying our friends here know it too.
I know you guys that are listening to Mike right now know all his issues with pretty much everything because he can't stop mentioning them. But let me tell you, I was a huge John Byrne fan because I got to know John Byrne through first the Dark Phoenix saga and the X-Men stuff, and then to Fantastic Four, and I love Fantastic Four. And one time I was saying, I love his Fantastic Four. He's amazing. I even love his Alpha Flight. And Mike's big point of contention that day was that he hated that he gave the Fantastic Four, what is it, preppy costumes?
Well, I hated that, but I have a lot of issues with his FF.
You were so mad. I'm like, dude, he just changed the colors
they sucked. It was a dumb way he changed it. You know that.
And he just
but it was stupid how he did it.
He just went off on me. He goes, they're lost in the negative zone. They don't exist to me anymore.
They were dumb.
No, wait. this is like the third time I'm speaking to this gentleman. So now I'm used to his psychotic, behavior. But back then, I didn't know. And
This all took place at a comic shop, of course.
He's going on for 2 hours about the costume change. I'm like, it's not that big deal. It's just from blue to black. It's too much. Jack Kirby did it perfect.
No, it's not that. Remember, it was a dumb way. They didn't just say, hey, remember, I stipulated, if they just said, let's change our costumes, it's one thing. It was stupid that they come out of the negative zone and they change. It changes the colors.
It's perfectly logical to me. But
dumb. Anyway, that's not the point, folks. So anyway, I was trying to set that up because everyone knows my issues with Byrne here and there, as even not as well as you know them, mind you, but they know them, right?
Oh, so, and then of course,
this comic,
it was Superman. Then you went off on.
I hated the Superman, and we've had and my good buddy again, our dear departed Mark C, and I have hashed that out as well on the show a couple of years ago when I just moved to the YouTube. So the point being is, I don't hate everything now. I mean, I love a lot of things. I love so much stuff. I love my friends here. I love Carlos, but don't tell him that. But anyway, and I love Superman, and I do love a lot of Byrne stuff. You know that. But at this point, though, when this book came out, when this book came out, though, the reason why I had to bring up the Byrne thing was, I would, if Byrne's name was on it, I wouldn't touch it. I was mad at him.
You would say it's burnt for me or something like that. You would
burnt.
say it's burnt for me or something like that. And then you actually would burn comics just to annoy me.
I would yeah. So anyway, and yet I'm trying to show what a superhero you are, because
yes,
I wouldn't read it, and you are the only. I wasn't going to read this one, and of course the idea of Batman and Captain America. Why would I not want to read that? But I was so pissed off at Byrne. But who got me to read this comic?
Of course, I had to beg you, as many of the things, because I had to beg you to read this, Daredevil by Carl Kessel, the What Ifs by Jim Valentino. I would have to beg you, the Justice Society of America by Mike Parabeck.
That wasn't a begging. You were recommended, but yeah.
No. I had to beg you. I have to give you my copy so you can read it. Because I remember one time that I decided to be a Mike Parabeck completist. And you would make fun of me, and he said, not even his parents are Mike Parabeck completists. And then
I say that?
You bastard. And then
that wasn't my fault.
I forced you to read Justice Society of America by Mike Parabeck, and you loved it.
I did love it. Hey, look, I always admit it.
But I know, but I had to beg you to read those. I had to force you to read them. And then I would give you the copies, and you would just have them there for 2 months, never read them.
And see, you were a better person for it.
30 years of being annoying. I do not understand why we're still friends. But the thing is,
we're not. We're enemies, actually.
And the thing is, and also you have to mention, it's very important. This comic came out in the 90s, and
this was late 90s, right?
Very dark age for comics. Everything was gritty. Everything was dark. Everybody was trying to copy what Frank Miller did with Batman, with what he was doing with Sin City. You would read the Image comics that I was reading a bunch of them. That's exactly how I met with when we were talking about Pit by Dale Keown for Image Comics. And everything was dark and just grim and just hopeless. Hopelessness was what defined the 90s. And then read the comic and everybody's smiling. And Batman is more of the Dick Sprang era kind of Batman. Also, the Robin is also kind of like the Jerry Robinson, Dick Sprang kind of version of Robin. Captain America is just the most affable person in the world in this comic book. And even the villains, are how can I say this? A less grim version of them. You can't do that with Red Skull, but with Joker, they made him more of a fun-loving kind of Joker instead of like.
Right, we're gonna get to that. Yes.
So this comic was a breath of fresh air. Is what I'm trying to say. This comic was a breath of fresh air. followed, of course, but of course then you have Astro City, then Supreme, and those comics to me are the best of the '90s because
Right. But
they shone a light through the darkness.
right. So let me set this up a little bit for everyone here. This, of course, for those who don't know, spoiler alert, we're going to go through the whole thing. So if you have not read this yet and you would like to read it on your own, then, now's the time. But if you want to we're going to go through the whole book like we always do on a Clobby'S Classic Comics Review. We're going to go through the whole comic and show it all. This comic, as a lot of what Carlos was saying, it's first of all, it takes place. It's even though it says Elseworlds on it, it is, but it's a golden age. If Batman and Captain America's universes are merged, so it's also very golden age, as he's pointed out in its feel. It's very lighthearted. It's also very simplistic. The story is very simple stuff. If I have any knock on it, really, it's probably just too short. I could have taken like a series or something. It has a very simple, short story, but that's okay too. Sometimes, Batman is great for brevity. You get to see Batman and Captain America team up, and you get to see Robin and Bucky in the comic. This is one of the few times Byrne inked himself where I think he actually poured himself into it, because I'm always usually really bitching about Byrne inking himself. He's really not. He shouldn't ink himself that often. He did a decent job on this one. Of course, this was done for a specialty prestige format, by the way. This is not, you're not looking at a compilation here or anything else. So we'll start taking a look at it now.
Oh, wait. And also another very important thing, historical fact about this was that since 1984, if I'm correct, Marvel and DC refused to work together because of all the stuff that happened with LA Avengers. Because before that, we had Superman, Spider-Man, Superman, Hulk, and Captain America, and the most wonderful one of them all, which was New Teen Titans, X-Men. And after that, the pièce de résistance, the jewel of the crown was going to be JLA Avengers. And thanks to our good friend Jim Shooter, that did not come out.
So Shooter was gone at this point, though.
Right. It took it took a little more than 10 years for Marvel and DC to, work together again. And this is one of the best things that they've done together.
Right. Absolutely. So this comic here, this book here, is a one shot. It is labeled Elseworlds, of course. Conjunction Marvel and DC, as Carlos mentioned, Jim Shooter was gone, so they're working together on this thing, meaning Marvel and DC. Byrne, who had been kind of estranged from Marvel for a while at DC, then went back and started doing some more work for Marvel at the time, and DC kind of went freelance at this point for a while. Gets to do this project, and it's really, I think, some of his finest individual art, meaning that I love him when Terry Austin inks him, when Joe Rubinstein inked him, and even Joe Sinnott, some of the greatest his pencils ever look. I never like him inking his pencils that much, but I think he did a fairly decent job on this one, much better than he did on some other books. A lot of other books where he inked himself. It's 1945 in Gotham City. Opens up with the Joker mobile. And again, he used a lot of the Golden Age. I mean, he does credit at the beginning of this thing, Dick Sprang. Let's even the bank Sprang right there.
Yeah,
so, and Moldoff.
Has that kind of.
There's Moldoff's right there. Yes, it's very Golden Age.
And also, his art had been like evolving. Like when he first started, he was very Neil Adams like, which of course was beautiful. And then his art got very, quote unquote realistic. And around this time, he started getting more cartoony, much like what Humberto Ramos does with Spider-Man. It's like the faces aren't that photorealistic.
Yes.
He was this was, and after that, everything he's done with like the Star Trek comics and pretty much every comic that he's done after this, like after what was it, Next Men. After that,
yes,
has been little by little less realistic and more in the cartoony vein of somebody like Sprang or somebody like Humberto Ramos.
Yes. And I think he liked being able to work within this Golden Age framework.
Yes.
You don't have to be too serious. It's Elseworlds in a one-shot, so you don't have to worry about any kind of continuity. I love this Batmobile and this Joker mobile. Basically starts out Batman and Robin are, of course, chasing the Joker. He manages to get away. That's your opening sequence. And then we move on to, we basically find out that something's going on. They don't know what. There's a big explosion. Really nice art here by Byrne. This maybe his final work as I think he's ever done inking himself, because I didn't like it when he started inking himself on FF that much. Many years earlier, but this is great. We jump to the battlefield of World War II, where Captain America, Sergeant Rock, and Easy Company. Very cool.
I've never liked Sergeant Rock as much as Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos.
No, me either.
To me, they're just more interesting. Although Joe Kubert art on Sergeant Rock was, of course, just
I love it. Maddie's daddy, what's up, Steve Mitchum? And so I love that. Again, I love that it is a very simplistic but fun story. This is classic Cap right here. Byrne, of course, had a great run on Cap with Roger Stern and Joseph Rubinstein for about 7 issues or so in the early 80s, which has been put in a trade paperback called War and Remembrance. I highly recommend.
It's beautiful. It is amazing.
Beautiful story.
Some of the best art by Byrne. The story by Roger Stern, I think,
Rubinstein.
He's a very underrated writer. He's one of the best. He's an amazing writer, and he just never got his celebration. I mean, everybody loves all these other writers, and Roger Stern has done some very solid work from his start, and just nobody talks about him, which is really sad.
No, that's true, because he's done a lot of good stuff. Keely Chow, roll tide, my friend. Good to see you. So here we are. Byrne and Easy Company, Cap and Sergeant Rock, and nice little crossover there with Easy Company. Having a bit of this is Cap going after this big giant machine, so right out of Kirby. So it's just a big Yahtzee machine there.
It looks kind of like the War Wheel.
Yes.
In DC, they had a big, huge wheel. It's called a War Wheel, and it was a Nazi invention, and it was just a huge wheel that would destroy.
Yes, indeed.
Path.
Yeah. Superb work here by Byrne. He was always good with action. And so you got Cap basically taking it down with his shield, this big monster taking this sucker down with the shield. Why? Because he's Cap and he can easily do that sort of thing.
He is.
Cap's the man.
One thing that I do have to say, and this goes out to Mark Grunwald, another great writer that we lost a long, long time ago. For some reason, Captain America just never did it for me until I started reading all those Mark Grunwald, because Mark Grunwald did like 10 years on Captain America one.
He did.
The 80s and early 90s. And he made me love the character. He made me interested in the character, especially when what's this guy's the future U.S. agent? What was his name?
U.S. agent, the John Walker guy.
John Walker, yeah. When he came up, he made me understand why Steve Rogers had to be Captain America, and everybody else was second best. And then I started loving Captain America. But then Mark Waid made me adore Captain America, because he did a very short.
He had a good short run. Yeah, good stuff.
And that just put Captain America over the top. And right now, thanks to the movies, because those first 2 Captain America movies are just beautiful.
Agreed.
Of course, Chris Evans does an amazing Captain America. He and Hugh Jackman have made me love the characters they've played, because they do such a wonderful job with Captain America and Wolverine respectively. And that's how I started loving Captain America. And then watching him, Batman, one of my favorite DC characters ever, and then Captain America, a new favorite of Marvel. Seeing them together, seeing them treated with such respect, with such joy, which is just everything is just perfect in the characterization and the personalities. I was so happy to read this comic, because you're reading and you cannot believe you're reading such a wonderful, hopeful comic, and everything else that was coming out was just crisis after crisis after crisis, and death after death. And Superman had long hair for no good reason. He had just died. Batman was in a wheelchair, and you had Azrael killing people dressed as Batman. It was reading comic books in the 90s was just horrible.
Especially the big two were real downers and garbage, and there was some good stuff on the peripheral from the independents like Astro City and Supreme, and some of the early '90s Valiant stuff. But yes,
Yeah,
a lot of the big two stuff was crap.
the first 2 years of Valiant were amazing. I mean, I remember reading Magnus Robot Fighter. Those first 2 years
Great
were
stuff.
just very solid. So
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
really you had to look around. You can just go and buy a Batman comic because you would be depressed. You had to search for the right Batman comic book. And then you had like the Halloween specials by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. And those were wonderful comics, but you had to like really look for them because just everything that was being published was horrible. I mean, I don't know if you remember what they were doing with the Avengers during that time.
Yeah, but
A crossing, and you had a teenage Iron Man. It was awful. And then reading these kind of comic books where everything was just joyful was amazing. I just love
absolutely
everything that this comic book represents. Not only what's the story, but what it represents. That those heroes were still alive, even in an Elseworlds, but they were still alive.
in an Elseworlds, yeah, in a good, at least they're there. And so Cap, after helping Easy Company and Rock, gets a communique says he and Bucky have been ordered stateside, some kind of top secret mission, but they have all the agents they need for that kind of stuff. Says Cap, maybe they do, but me and you are just following orders, Cap, in this war. And if we start questioning those orders, where will we be? You're right, Rock, I'll go. But I'm glad I had a chance to work with you and the Men of Easy Company before this show ended. And this is what I'm talking about, this Golden Age feel where he's trying to capture the spirit of this is just a fun superhero comic. They were all back then aimed at younger readers and stuff, and he does a nice job with that. So Cap and Bucky.
You see right there in the page before that they're like, shaking hands. You have Sergeant Rock and Captain America just
Captain America.
hands.
That's a great scene.
Yeah. That shows what these characters are supposed to be about.
Exactly. It's very nostalgic. It's very nice, and they waste no time. That's another thing that is very resemblant, I would say, of old school Golden Age comics. There's not a lot of time for drama or anything else. Everything is business. So you don't from one page to the other. You're advancing your story. You're not filling anything up here. They cut to Cap and Bucky are being flown to Gotham City.
Not like
then
it takes 5 issues for a character to decide to do an action.
They'd be sitting around in a malt shop or something.
Dude,
so
I remember reading an Avengers comic by Brian Michael Bendis, and literally all the characters are sitting down talking to the camera. And I'm like, what is this? This is an Avengers. It's in the title. They avenge. They don't sit around. They avenge.
The sit-arounders. They're the sit-arounders. Yeah, I hate Bendis. Don't get me started on him.
You can have like a break in the drama and just like a character piece, like with I think it was number 6 of New Teen Titans. That's called A Day in the Life, and you get to know these heroes. But that's because you didn't know those heroes. You needed a little time with Raven, a little time with Starfire, a little time with Cyborg to get to know them. But you can't do that in every comic book of a Spider-Man comic book, which is what Brian Michael Bendis did with Ultimate Spider-Man. I'm like, oh my god,
that's what comics are right now.
Yeah.
So
one good thing that John Byrne had, maybe he learned it by working with so long with Chris Claremont. He could tell a really good story when he wanted to, because his Superman. I love the Superman. I know you didn't. His Alpha Flight.
Trash.
I mean, who cares about Alpha Flight? And yet those comics, those first 24 issues were pretty good. I mean, I actually cared when Vindicator, later Guardian, died. And who cares about James McDonald Hudson? And he made me care about him. He made me feel bad for him dying. So
hey, Dave. Yep, there you go. Absolutely. So basically they spot some airplane where something's going on, and they decide they need to go and investigate it. And they're flying over, and Captain says, "Hey, just fly over, and we'll jump down there. They don't need a parachute."
Well, he's Captain America. He's the living legend of World War II.
Well, it's that great scene in Captain America: The Winter Soldier when he jumps in off the shield jet, and then the guy says, "Did he take a parachute? Was he wearing a parachute?" And Rumlow says, "No, he wasn't," because he's Cap. Yeah, that was a great scene.
That scene is beautiful because not only does he jump, he gets down, and he's not even winded. He just gets up, gets on the boat, and he proceeds to take care of all the terrorists. I'm like, yeah, that's Captain America. That's beautiful.
Here you have
that's
a great
way to capture the character.
Great action sequence. So, like I said, I'm really impressed. Byrne usually can't ink himself. He does a spectacular job. Maybe he actually cared about this comic that he was working on. Great couple of pages here with Cap action, swinging, jumping down onto the airplane, being shot at, and then he's in trouble. And who comes to help him but Batman? This is the kind of thing that makes you feel like a kid again when you see something like this. The two greatest human, not so superpowered, not really like, ultra powered superheroes who ever lived, who ever existed, ever created. How about that? Batman and Cap.
They have the willpower. Batman made his body. Captain America couldn't make his body, but he had the will to make that body do the things that he does. I love this scene because it also reminds me a little bit of that great Batman 66 movie where he's like, you have the helicopter is on the ladder, and he gets attacked by a shark.
Down the shark repellent bat spray.
And the thing is, Captain America calls him by the correct name. He doesn't say Batman.
The Batman.
The Batman.
Yes, sir.
As well as it should be. Yes.
What I also love about it is, look, as kids, we do love it when most superheroes meet each other for the first time, and there's a silly misunderstanding, and they duke it out. That's irresistible. It's kind of fun. However, when these two guys meet, it just doesn't make. It wouldn't work. So I'm glad in this case they know each other already. They respect each other already, and they don't fight. They just know. They know.
I think
they have mutual respect, but they know they're both good guys.
The hero fighting, I think it's okay sometimes, but sometimes I'm more of a, I don't know, like a Golden Age, Silver Age kind of DC fan, and I remember vividly that every time two DC heroes met, they never fought. Marvel always did it. Always did it.
So when they cross over like this, it's cool.
I remember one time I was reading a DC Comics Presents in Spanish a long time ago. It's a team up between Superman and Firestorm, who had just joined the Justice League. And Firestorm goes to see Clark Kent to tell him that he needs to talk to Superman. And Clark Kent just says, "Oh yeah, sure, let me call him." And he takes his glasses off and his suit off, and he has the Superman suit underneath. He goes, "Oh my God, you're revealing your identity to me." He goes, "Well, we're teammates.
You're in the Justice League."
In the Justice League, so I guess I can reveal to you my secret. I'm like, oh my God, that is so 80s, Yeah. And that was a very DC attitude, If they're in the same team, they can just go ahead and reveal their identities. Who cares?
It's fun sometimes, like in the first Superman Spider-Man team up, which we reviewed last summer, my friend Ace and I, which is a wacky wackadoodle story. But Superman and Spider-Man do fight when they first meet, but it was kind of fun. It's kind of fun when it happens. Sometimes. It was beautiful in Captain America Civil War to see that big fight, but we knew that weren't first meeting. That was just a superhero fight. But just in general, it is fun seeing superheroes fight sometimes. But somehow, for some way, I agree with Byrne on this one. I like that they just immediately already knew each other and they bypass that crap. Then they start fighting alongside each other immediately.
Yeah, of course. And of course, who can take those two? I mean, come on. And also,
God. Yeah,
the way they're fighting, the henchmen are no trouble because they're not supposed to be. I mean, I know how many people feel about Batman Forever. I'm not going to defend that film. I have questions about if it is a film, But the one thing that I really enjoy about Batman Forever is that whenever Batman fought any of the henchmen, they were no trouble at all.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
That
was pretty good. That was cool.
Like I remember that scene when he's going he's in the elevator and all the Two-Face goons shoot up the elevator, and then the doors open and there's nobody there, and then Batman just falls from the ceiling and hits them and they all fall down. I'm like, well, yeah, that's a Batman thing,
Very Batman. And yes, Kal-El, yes, if that's exactly right. It would, Batman and Superman didn't fight immediately in there when they originally met, but some idiots made them do it in certain remakes and stuff that we won't talk about. But
Yeah.
anyway,
And
but
also,
yes, this is cool here. Both fighting Ratsies.
And also, wait, just to make my point about Batman Forever, what I love that so much is if you all remember Batman 89, Batman confronts two burglars and one of them shoots him with a gun, and Batman falls down like a sack of potatoes. I'm like, that's not Batman.
No.
So that's why I enjoyed that
the
part
excuse
about
he got is he was new on the job. So, but yeah,
yeah,
right.
it's still just he's Batman.
Doesn't work for me. Yeah, it doesn't work for me.
But
I hear you.
This is beautiful.
This is fantastic. They just right away,
boom,
no conflict whatsoever. Immediately, they both know each other's reputation. They both know that they are on the same side. They're fighting. Look at the smiles. This is so golden age, man.
Very, very, and it just
with great art,
dynamism. Just very dynamic. The pictures move. They flow. Beautiful. And you're reading this, and you're actually having a smile on your face because you're seeing two great heroes work together.
Yes.
And there are no better villains than Nazis.
This page here is Byrne telling you you're gonna have fun. You're gonna have fun with this. What's that?
Sorry if I offend anybody, but there are no better villains than Nazis. I mean,
Yahtzees. We kind of in code we say Yahtzees here, but yeah, that's a code word. But no, I got you. Ratsies. Hey, how about in honor of this comic, we say Ratsies, like Cap was calling them.
There are no better villains. I mean, come on, Indiana Jones showed that to us as well.
Ratsies, I hate these guys. No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely. So they would make quick work of these punks, and I love this shot right here that the airplane with the bat plane and that wonderful 40s Batmobile. Oh man, I just love it.
Simon Air in honor of Joe Simon, of course, because here in Mexico, some people actually it's important to mention that Joe Simon, Jack Kirby, creators of Captain America. Here in Mexico, people think that Stan Lee created Captain America.
There's a reason why they think that.
Yeah,
sad reason why. Yeah, I'm with you. No, you know me, buddy.
I have to educate a few of my peers, and I said, no,
absolutely.
Please don't say that in front of me.
So Bats and Caps and Bucky and Robin are interrogating these Ratsies, and turns out they get they all end up with Joker toxin, and they're all having the time of their lives, dying anyway. We cut to Captain America's in a meeting with the big boys and with the brass, and poor old Bucky's got a way outside. Here we go. So these guys decide that it's kind of funny. They decide that they're suspicious of a certain millionaire playboy. They're trying to figure out who's financing, who's the money behind all this operation, that this special weapon that they've got, who's trying to steal it, who's the bad guy behind it, where are they getting all this from, where's the Joker getting his help from. So they've decided they're suspicious of Bruce Wayne, so they will assign Steve Rogers as his bodyguard. The plot slickens. And
that is so cool.
Later at stately Wayne Manor, home of millionaire playboy Bruce Wayne and his youthful ward Dick Grayson.
And there's no Alfred, by the way. Was Alfred not introduced back then? Because
he was in this at some point later. Now, at the end, I'm wondering at the end. See, I think they added a tag on to the end of this. Well, I'll show you at the end of this. This is the last page. I think they added something.
Yeah,
because I remember the old. Remember, I had the
Alfred wasn't introduced.
The last page.
Let me see when he was introduced. Let me check that out.
He's on the last page of this one, the one I have loaded here, but I think it may have been added later. Or it could just be my garbage memory that I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, we'll move on here. Poor old Steve Rogers is stuck with boring old Bruce Wayne being his bodyguard. And again, Byrne doesn't waste a lot of time, though. He'll give you a page telling him what's going on. And it's got, meant for a little bit of levity and a little bit of relief in the story, but very golden age in that respect. And Dick Grayson is not happy with being, all the stuff going on with board. They were trying to figure out what the Joker is up to. And there's Steve Rogers eavesdrops on Bruce and Dick Grayson. The thing is, and you're right, there's no Alfred in this part of the story.
I'm checking the years, and he was. You mentioned that this comic book was, takes place during 1945,
which would be pre-Alfred. Yeah.
It's pre-Alfred. That's why.
Hey, Krampus Jeebus. Yeah, but on the last page, he's here. I think Burt went back and added a page to some special edition.
Well, I do remember in the last few pages of this, there's a time jump to the 60s,
and that has to be after that's added to this. It wasn't in the original that you had me read. If I remember right,
it was.
Was it in there? Was it in there?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, look, it's been 30 years since I've read it. Well, not 30, but whenever this came out.
To me, it's
Matt G. Hey, Matt G. So anyway,
yesterday, because as you mentioned before, my memory. My memory is devoted all to comic books, not to anything else.
In that case, Alfred is in the book at the end there, but it's 20 years later. So
exactly,
makes sense. All right. So anyway,
we're covering all the bases here, guys. We're checking.
We'll cover it all. We'll cover it all. Steve Rogers, because they've been known to add things to stuff before. So Steve Rogers overhears Bruce, but he only hears the tail end of what he's saying. So I said, that will be far too dangerous. You don't have all the information I do, and I can't risk sharing it with you. Not yet. I'm just going to have to find a way to shed Private Rogers and keep with my appointment with the Joker. That's all he hears. So the big brass was right. Now he thinks Bruce Wayne is in cahoots with the Joker. And so he's gonna sneak up on him, being Steve Rogers. So he stows away on the back of Bruce Wayne's car, follows him down to the Wayne Foundation building.
My favorite scene in the comic book is coming up.
Yeah, me too. And so he gives a Vulcan neck pinch to this guy's O'Hara. I guess that was kind of an homage, calling him O'Hara.
Of course.
Saints be praised, be good. I'm not Chief O'Hara in this one. So he gives him a Vulcan neck pinch. He goes upstairs and eventually crashes through the window to confront Bruce Wayne. And what does he says? He says, "All right, Wayne, I'll just relieve you of those documents." I don't think so, Rogers. And they're both thinking to each other how good the other one is. Just wow, that's some spectacular move for a man in his shape. He moved like greased lightning. There's no way he could have anticipated my leap. They're very impressed with the abilities of the other. So there's a brief skirmish between not Batman and Captain America so much as Bruce Wayne and Steve Rogers. He says, there aren't 10 people who even know those disciplines outside of the Far East, thinks Steve Rogers. They both think the same thing.
Exactly.
And so it's a stalemate, which is kind of fun. You and I talked about this even back when I first read it.
Yeah.
That this was
it's at the same time perfect and disappointing at the same time, because you want them to fight, but it's ridiculous for them to fight because they're too evenly matched. In fact, they did the exact same thing in the JLA Avengers by Busiek and George Perez, where they don't even fight. They just look at each other. And Batman says, look, you may win, I may win, but it's going to take too much time, and we don't have the time. We have things to solve.
Matt G, hey there, Darcipio, what's up? So so that's kind of cool that go ahead.
Yeah, in the original version of JLA Avengers by
they fight.
Jerry Conway and George Perez, they did fight, and they had to be a clear winner. And George Perez said that to him, and I agree with him, Batman would win because he cheats, and Captain America doesn't cheat. So
I tend to think
would use subterfuge to beat Captain America, but of course it would take him forever, because they're too evenly matched. And I know how you feel about Stan Lee, and I feel pretty much the same way about him too. But the one thing I do agree with him is that when it comes to deciding who would win in a fight, be it a Thing, Hulk, or Captain America, Batman, or whoever, in the end, it's up to the writer. it's not real characters with like real power. So you can never choose a clear winner. It's what is more interesting for the story. So whenever it comes down to who would win in a Batman Captain America fight, it's the answer is unnecessary. It's
The
what's
answer
better.
is there's some things that mankind are not meant to know.
There you go. I'm there with you.
Your
And
muscle
this was
uncle.
beautiful. This was beautiful, and it's a great way
Right.
to solve this dilemma. And just as they were fighting side by side as heroes, now they're fighting side by side in their civilian identities. Perfect.
Hey,
Beautiful.
hail your Muslim uncle. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. So yes, this is a great way to have them go at it for a second, then realize they just talk it out. I kind of like that. I kind of like the way they resolved it. Was just
Yes.
didn't have to be a knockdown, drag out. They assessed each other, and there you go. And then we got to the Joker, still the homicidal maniac, cocky, crazy Joker, but also a golden age tint to him. Some of it retro because Burns drawing on some of the stuff that came later with this Joker. Anyway, he's having it out with this secret ally of his, talking about their business and what's going on with this what's going on behind the scenes. Let's put it like that. We don't know who he is yet, of course. And then when the Joker gets through talking to him, we find out it's, of course, who else but the Red Skull. Because who else would you have? Who else would you have Cap and in a story with Cap and Batman, but Joker and Red Skull? Which makes all the sense in the world. It's perfect.
And also,
he kills his he kills his henchman. Very Joker like. That was a nice twist, by the way. Usually it's the Joker killing his henchman, but this is something he throws in this thing where it's Red Skull doing it this time. I thought that was kind of funny.
It's funny in this issue, in this panel. Byrne has Red Skull wearing his original costume with different colors because his original color was green, if you remember correctly. It was a full body suit that was
yes,
all green, and of course the Razzie symbol,
of course.
And then later, much later, in those comics that you mentioned that were collected in War and Remembrance by Byrne and Roger Stern, he gave him a better costume to me, which was just a full, Razzie uniform.
Right.
But here, instead of using his design, he went back to the original, which is a great nod to Jack Kirby, a great nod to that design.
Yes.
Beautiful. And of course, the mask is wonderful. Red Skull is one of my favorite villains. He's a great villain. Of course, he's a one-note villain, but who cares? It's a great note. He is. It's a great note.
Yes, he is the tip. He's the embodiment of the Yahtzee villain.
Yes,
and
totally.
And so you have some troops here out in the Arctic or whatever. Not really the Arctic, but they would get who were out on maneuvers, and who shows up but the Joker and murders them all with his usual aplomb, right? And
there we go.
Cut back to the Batcave. Nice little shot of the Batcave here.
Beautiful.
Always love seeing it.
Again, I love the Batcave. I love this drawing. The one thing that I hate, again, it's a Mexican thing. I don't know if it happens in the United States, but it's a Mexican thing and it annoys me. Every time I say that I'm a Batman expert, that I love Batman, that I know everything about Batman, there's always two stupid questions that people have to ask.
The penny.
No. The first one, which is moronic, is what is Batman's brother's real name? Or what? And
Thomas
I'm like,
Wayne
Thomas Wayne Jr. But he appeared in 2 comics 1 billion years ago that nobody read.
It was Bob Haney, by the way.
Yeah,
it was Bob Haney.
Yes, but it's just a trivia fact that people know, and they
that's
think
because Scott Snyder did it, right? Brought it back, right?
Excuse me.
That's because the idiot Scott Snyder brought him back, right?
Yeah, for the Court of the Owls.
Court of Owls, right. So anyway, go ahead.
But the thing, but it just annoys me that they think that they're so clever because they know Thomas Wayne Jr. And another thing that annoys me, and I really just go off on my audience whenever they ask me this, is where does the penny, the dinosaur and the playing card come from? Which stories? And I get annoyed. And I'm like, dude, I can tell you which stories, but you're not gonna read them.
No, they're
Because
not.
you don't care about Joe Coyne, the guy where
The penny plunderer or something. The penny plunderer, whatever he was.
The penny plunderer, yeah, Joe Coyne, the penny plunderer.
Right. And then they changed that like 50 times about what the damn where the penny came from, right?
Right. Everybody thinks it's Two-Face, but it's not. It's Joe Coyne.
No, it's Two-Face who used it later. Yeah, just because he used it.
And also, like with the dinosaurs, it's a whole take on the world's most dangerous game. But everybody asks me about those comics. I'm like, I'll tell you the numbers. I don't care. You're not going to read them. So why do you care? Stop asking these stupid questions. You don't care. You're not going to read them. I'm telling you guys to read Batman Dark Knight Returns or to read like a Daredevil Born Again. And you're not reading those comic books, and they're more recent. You're not gonna look for Golden Age comic books.
No, not.
Joe Coyne, the penny plunderer.
Exactly.
Annoying questions. And also, like, if you start going into the whole Thomas Wayne thing, I don't know if you remember this, but in his second appearance, he gets into an accident, and Thomas Wayne Jr. loses his mind. He becomes a vegetable, and he becomes the human host for Deadman. That is in Bob Haney canon. But who cares? They just need to ask that stupid question. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, there's Alfred. See, when he was in this one, I love how he put special thanks to Dick Sprang on this right there and signed it.
Of course.
And then there is Alfred after all.
Yeah, I'm looking. Apparently, Alfred was introduced in like a serial in 1943.
Yeah, 1943. So
and
yeah,
then
in the first Boris Wilson serial. There's Claude,
and he appeared in the comics in 44. But remember, first he was a fat guy, and then he was this version of the character.
Then he died and came back and was Blockbuster and all kind of.
Oh God, no! The
Outsider. Outsider. Blockbuster's different, dude. Yeah.
Blockbuster.
I always get those two guys mixed up, even though they don't even look like each other. But anyway,
it was the Outsider, and then Batman had a team called the Outsiders. It's a whole thing.
Batman and the Inside Outsiders. So here we go.
You make fun of these characters, and I love these characters, and just annoy you. Just do it to annoy me because again, when I said that I love Batman and the Outsiders, you made fun of the Outsiders.
I don't like the Outsiders. I think
but you made fun of them.
Yeah, but see that. You know why I had a chip on my shoulder about that comic? It's because he ended Brave and the Bold to make it piss me off.
I know.
I didn't like that. I was mad.
I know, but I love Batman and the Outsiders.
But this comic is great, though. They're all okay.
It was the first comic in English that I bought voluntarily. When I lived in the U.S., I went there without
Batman and the Outsiders.
The first comic book that I bought for myself in English.
Batman and the Nearsighted was?
Batman and the Outsiders #3. The first, and then I went to the book swap, and I bought BSI, and I bought Batman and the Outsiders 1 and 2, where they fought Baron Bedlam.
Batman and the Outliers, cool.
And you kept making fun of them. I'm like, stop it!
Mike Barr wrote it, for God's sake, dude. It's terrible. Anyway,
I love that comic. Stop it.
You are young. Anyway,
so
here we are. We're making plans in the Batcave. It's just seeing them standing there, man. Look how cool that is. They're just all hanging out in the Batcave. Batman, Robin, and Bucky, and Cap.
That is a very Batman 66 kind of attitude.
Yes. And so I thought it was kind of funny. I was never really exactly kind of sure why he did it. I guess because it was just an excuse to have this happen, so it was kind of cool. Where Batman has to stay behind, he sends Captain America and Robin. It's just kind of it's just a silly, fun idea. Very golden age where you get a little mix up. You get Cap and Robin and Batman and Bucky. I don't know why, but it just works and it's fun. Where he sends Cap to go talk to Commissioner Gordon,
and he looks like Commissioner Gordon did back then.
Yes, he does. Look at that. That's so cool.
You remember his first appearance of Commissioner Gordon was in the first issue of the first appearance of Batman, which is Detective 27. And he goes to see, like, there's a mystery. Somebody died. and Commissioner Gordon goes to consult with his best friend, millionaire philanthropist Bruce Wayne. I'm like, why? Why is this happening? Why is the Commissioner of Police talking to a multi-millionaire about someone's death? The case of the Killer Syndicate, yes.
Good Lord, Captain America, what? So yeah, there's
and that's a very dynamic entrance by Captain America.
It is, and of course, very, very Cap. And again, it's an honor to meet Cap. Of course, it is. And so Cap is commiserating with Commissioner Gordon, and they're sussing things out. They're trying to figure out what to do next. It's very simple. Definitely, you're not going to have to worry about anything complicated with this story, folks. It's just the fun of seeing these characters together. And again, this was a nice little change of pace to the comic, having Cap and Robin and Batman and Bucky. So Cap and Robin.
One thing that I noticed about this comic book, all the human figures are very much in the style of, or like trying to imitate the style of the Golden Age stuff, less lines and just more, or the same thing that they were doing with the Batman cartoon.
Yes.
Using less lines. But every time he draws anything that's technological, like the Batmobile or the Batcave or whatever, he tries to make it very, busy.
Right. Yeah.
So he like when everything's that's technology makes it all busy, and everything that's human just makes it a little less, because again, if you remember, they were doing a lot of cross hatching. Those Image guys, they were overdrawing their figures. Like you look at like a '90s Youngblood, and it's so many lines all over the place. It's just it's weird.
This is still like hello there, Boosh McFadden. Good to see you there, buddy. This is still, maybe this is because it's a little bit earlier than Generations, where look at the detail to Cap's face, his art there. In Generations, everything right here was chicken scratch. It's really annoying how bad his art is in that. Here, it's really nice and crisp. He inked himself, again, I'm no artist like Steve or Hungry Boy, but he inked himself so much better on this than he even did on stuff he did prior to this, where he did it with his feet half the time. This is he cared about this project, I guess. And also he had a very good colorist. There's no question about it. So anyway, they're planning things, and then this is a nice scene right here where you did the Batmobile where Batman and Bucky hanging out. Just something about it. It's just cool. You can't really describe it other than the fanboy sense of seeing them. They're mixing teams there.
Well, that's exactly what they did every time there was a crisis and the JLA and the JSA got together.
Right. Yes.
They would always, mix and match, and it was fun. I enjoyed whenever they did that. They had little tiny stories with these characters that had never worked together. This was the first time, and they're getting to know each other, getting to understand each other, how they worked and stuff like that. It was just a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So Bats and Bucky, going, and they get confronted. This is nice. Look again. This is really just a beautiful page right here. Drat, get them. But look, I mean, how many times? It's just so cool that you're seeing this, and instead of it's Batman and Robin, it's Batman and Bucky. There's something really fun about that. We got a Batman fight scene, and Batman and Bucky instead of Batman and Robin. And then, of course, here comes Red Skull, Joker. And why would you think this one was one of the Joker's little things, Batman? Herr Batman. He doesn't say that, but I'm saying. So, meanwhile, Cap and Robin find a couple of more dead folks because they're dropping like flies in this comic. Another thing about the Golden Age, they weren't shy to show people some really gruesome stuff. And yeah, it's funny how you can make really gruesome scenes in a fun, lighthearted adventure, but you can do it if you do it right.
Well, it is the Second World War II. I mean, it's World War II. It's time of war, man. It's a time of war.
It is a time of war.
Time of war.
Currently, Batman and Bucky are prisoners of. Anyway, so they never really explain who this chick is. She's just like the generic Fraulein, whatever her face name is, chick, working with the Ratsies. And
they say
Bucky,
her name. Maybe
say again.
Do they
I don't
say
think they do.
Because remember,
no, I don't.
Her face. Is she a Von Strucker by any chance?
She's just a Vaughn something or other. Yeah, who knows? He might be. He might be working for Strucker. Anyway, so here we go. We've got them on the death again. Very, very classic comics and stuff. We've got them on the death trap because you could kill them by shooting them, but it wouldn't be any fun, would it? So monologuing, all the classic villain stuff there. But Herr Fledermaus, we have not been formally introduced. I know who you are. You're a rassy madman who calls himself the Red Skull. Batman, of course he's Batman. He knows who you are. How dare you insult Batman? As if Batman wouldn't know who you are, you jerkweed. Great work here. Great stuff. Monologuing, more menacing monologuing.
That's the kind of guy Red Skull is.
He's a monologuer.
He's brilliant, and he wants you to know that he's brilliant.
Yes, absolutely. As Blackadder said, typical master criminal loves the sound of his own voice. So he runs out, and of course, boom, blows the place up because we know that done it. We know right here that Batman and Bucky are dead, aren't they?
It's like him, Lex Luthor, Magneto, Doctor Doom, Loki. They just don't shut up.
Exactly. No, that's what villains are. Part of being a villain, buddy.
Yeah.
So
I'm not knocking them. They're great when they do it. They're great when they do it. But it reminds me of that great scene in the Incredibles when they make fun of.
Did you catch me? You got me monologuing. Yeah, maybe he says it. You've got me monologuing. Oh, you're good. And that was great.
A wonderful movie.
Anyway, so yes, you've got Cap riding borrowing Batman's motorcycle. I like it. Or is it Robin's?
And also another very important thing, Captain America is a motorcycle guy. He's a
motorcycle guy.
He's always been in motorcycles. It's one of the things that I love about the MCU is that they never put Captain America in a car. He's always in a motorcycle, and he drives it so well. I love that part because for some reason or another, he just looks really cool in a motorcycle. And maybe some people are going to be mad at me, but I enjoy the fact whenever he puts the shield right in front.
I love that.
Much like what's that 70s show with what's his face with Reb
Brown, yeah. Reb Brown, yeah.
Where the shield is right there in the front of the bike. For some reason, that visual just kills me. In fact, I think maybe one of the reasons that I'm a bike dude right now is because of Wolverine and Captain America, because they're both bike guys. You've never seen my motorcycle, have you? Right?
I have not seen it. You have to show it to me.
I will show you right now. I have pictures of it.
So Cap and Robin are on the move, and Joker is as well, and he's killing more soldiers. And then he's gonna he's breaking into this hangar, and I love this scene right here. This is when his secret ally shows up, and he learns that he doesn't even know who the Red Skull is. Red Skull tells him who he is and tells him he's working for Adolf Spittler.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not happy. This is a great bit. You mean that's not just some crazy disguise? I've been working for a Razzie? Of course you are. Why are you upset, Joker? From what I have read, I don't know why Skeletor. I'm talking like Skeletor. But I've read of your exploits. It seemed obvious you would make a superb Razzie. And I love it where Joker freaks out, says, that mask must be cutting off your oxygen to your brain. I'm going to be a criminal lunatic, but I'm an American criminal lunatic. Keep back, boys. This creeps mine. I love it.
I remember one time when we were talking about this, you said something specifically. You probably don't remember because, your memory is just not that good. But I'm actually going to say something to you. You actually had a good point. They took the scene, or he was inspired.
Rocketeer.
Exactly.
That's right. See, I do have a good memory sometimes.
Which is kind of funny because, it never occurred to me. But yeah, it is. Although it worked perfectly in the Rocketeer because, he was a mafioso, an American mafioso. But here you have to think of two ways to look at it. If you look at it as the modern day Joker, who's an agent of chaos, he would be totally for the ideals of the Red Skull.
But if you look at it as the Joker of that period of the 40s, he would kind of react like this. Plus, of course, it's a lot funnier.
And more thoughts on that in a second. I want to say thank you, Cardinal Sin, for the $9.99 super sticker. Thank you, buddy. You were too kind as always. Appreciate that. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Good to see you, Gil. I tell you, I think that absolutely, which is absolutely right. Again, the scene, and for those who don't remember, it was Paul Sorvino and the Rocketeer was Eddie Valentine, and I love that scene where when Cliff Secord convinces him that he's working for a Yahtzee and Neville Sinclair. He says, I might not make an honest buck, but I'm 100% American. I don't work for no 2-bit Nazi. So they had that scene in it.
Now you mentioned Neville Sinclair is, I never liked Timothy Dalton too much as 007, but my
he's
God,
the best as Bond. He was brilliant as Bond. He was fantastic as Bond.
I never liked him too much as Bond, but I loved him. Neville Sinclair was amazing. Amazing as Neville Sinclair.
I think even though you're right about him, even the later Joker, I don't think he would even care about the Red Skull's principles then. I think he would still be against them because here's the fundamental thing about it. He doesn't want there to be, he likes there to be a free world where he's scarier in a free world. The Joker's scarier when there are people that have something more to lose. So I think the Joker, he likes freedom just fine because terrorizing a bunch of ratchies wouldn't be no fun. He wants to terrorize the straights. So anyway, just an observation there.
Yeah. So that's what I say. Here I think it works here. I don't know about the modern day Joker because of, again, the way they write the modern day Joker. Well,
he probably just wouldn't like Red Skull over, basically trying to toss him around. He would hate him just on principle.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Remember the way he used to get with? It would be like with Luther. He is with Luther.
He considers himself a mastermind. He does not like to be used by anybody. So that's another thing. So yeah.
How unfortunate such misplaced patriotism, and now you die, and then their toxins that they use on each other. They laugh and cough, and they cancel each other out with the stuff they use on each other.
That was actually funny. That was
funny.
That was a funny scene.
And so they knock the Joker out, and then he tells him to leave him alive. He wants to bring him for
two negatives make a positive right there.
Right, exactly. So he tells him, "No, don't kill him. I'm going to bring him and let our boss show the show." And as an example for the kind of freakish monsters America has bred. Okay, that's the kind of thing that Red Skull would do. So anyway, Yavol, they're about to go and blast Washington D.C. because that's what you do when you're an megalomaniacal ratsy supervillain from the 40s, right?
It sounds like
love this shot here of the bat plane.
It is a perfect plan. Huh?
Perfect plan at any time, really. Yes, we have the bat plane. Cool shot. No, it can't be. I could have sworn that my plan to just leave him to blow up was perfect. And then the plane, of course, our four heroes. And Batman explains. We all know. Do you really? Any of you really need an explanation how Batman got away? He's Batman. That's how he got away.
Although I always enjoyed like in any comic book where Batman gets in the locked room, and then 2 pages later he's free. He beats the villain, and then somebody asks him, be it Alfred or Robin, how do you escape? And they come up with this ridiculous explanation. And I'm young, I don't care. I just love it. I remember when I was young, I actually told my parents that I needed to learn how to be an escape artist. And they go, why? You go, because I want to be like Batman.
And it's funny how
I started being a fan of Houdini because of Batman. Let me just put that out there.
And it depending upon which iteration of the origins, he's trained with all these great escape artists and stuff, including Scott Free for a while, right? And Zatara.
Yeah, the Satana, the Satara thing was because of the animated
series,
and I thought that was just
that
perfect.
Was really cool.
Yeah. That was amazing, and then making him like like a young Bruce Wayne and Satana having a little thing together that was beautiful. That was just that animated series is just perfection.
Yes, sir.
Again, kudos to Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, and of course just the whole voice cast, and of course,
the great Kevin
greatest.
Conroy. So bat plane and the boys. Oh, look, I love this shot right here
Got it. Yeah.
where they catch the plane. That's fantastic.
Just a question for you, and just a question for everybody that's listening to
Yes,
us.
Oliver Belmonte, welcome. Go ahead.
Kevin Smith was talking about Kevin Conroy because he met him, they were friends, and he said something that it just resonated with me, and I think it's true to all of us now. After watching Batman the Animated Series, after that moment, every time we read a Batman comic, the Batman voice we hear in our heads is Kevin Conroy.
Oh, yeah.
That's me. Is that you too?
Oh, everybody. Yeah. A couple of weeks ago when we were doing all of our tributes to him and talking to him and everybody was doing shows about him, we all said that. In fact, a buddy of mine, we call him Mexican Iron Man. He's been a producer of a bunch of the shows that I've become friends with over the past couple of years. All hail the great Mexican Iron Man. You all know him. On his birthday about earlier this year, I haven't told you this. One of my other friends who does one of his many friends that does a channel with him, my friend Loki, he had Kevin Conroy had this charity that he worked with that was very important to him. That if you give certain donations for it, he would make, like he would do videos and stuff. So my friend Loki got to talk to Kevin Conroy for a good while on what he wanted him to do. He wanted him to make a Mike, aka Mexican Iron Man, is a huge, Kevin Conroy fan and Batman animated series fan, and so he had him make a video, like those hello videos that celebrities do sometimes.
Yeah.
But this was just because he gave to this charity, and so he talked a long time. He told him all about him. So Kevin Conroy didn't just do the usual, "Hey there, how you doing?" Whatever. He started out, "Hello, Mike. I am the Knight. I am vengeance. I am Batman." And then he proceeded to talk for like almost 10 minutes, just talking about all the things, because he's a very philanthropic individual, has done a lot of stuff to help a lot of people, and he was impressed with him. Gave a great speech. If you watch that, it's just chilling and it's phenomenal. When he made this speech, he knew didn't have much time, and he was as full of life and as upbeat and just philosophical as you could be. We played that, but after we heard about his passing, we all played it again on a couple different channels, and it was very inspiring the way Kevin Conroy conducted himself even at that point, because when he made this thing, it was earlier this year. He knew, because what was going on with him. So that's just a side note about what a great stand-up guy he was. And Oliver Belamonte, I've been thinking that myself. This would make, if they did it verbatim and made it look like this, would make a terrific one-shot DC animated movie. This right here, well, it'd have to be DC Marvel.
I wish they would do something with the animated universe, because recently some of the animated movies that DC has been producing has just been just crap.
Oh, they're garbage. They've been garbage for 10 years. Yeah.
I think around Killing Joke, that it's been just all the way down.
Flashpoint is where I started hating it. Yeah,
which one? Flashpoint.
Flashpoint. I hated it.
I love Flashpoint.
Trash from hell. Garbage.
I hate the ending, but I love the movie. I hate the ending because then we have the New 52.
It's just all kind of full of vile garbage for me. But then after that it was all Screw 52. So
it's a different universe. So I can put up with it. What?
I was just kidding. I'll say, look, old Indiana Jones right there. But so you got the bat plane.
Well, we're about to get an old Indiana Jones soon.
Yeah, we are. We've already had one, but we'll get another one, an older one. But anyway, so here's Bats and Cap blowing into the plane, kicking some more butt, as they always should. And again, it's not, like they say, it's not even a fair fight, really. Batman Cap clubs a woman over their head with a shield. Bong. And so here we go. Big fight. Joker still knocked out. Red Skull's trying to get away. Batman punches his lights out. Cap punches out the bad guys in the cockpit. Joker comes along and throws a monkey wrench into everything. Say again?
What? Just quick thing, like the bomb says Fat Boy. That of course is because of the two bombs from
right the bombs.
Batman and Little Boy. Yeah, just little.
Yes,
he did a little merger right there.
Right. Yes, indeed. So Joker basically destroys something, throwing a monkey wrench into the mechanism there, and
a literal monkey wrench, right?
Yeah, indeed, a Joker monkey wrench. Then he ends up. Red Skull doesn't like that too much, and so they have another little fight. Then they fall with the bomb.
Of course, that's Doctor Strangelove.
Yes, yes.
Well, Doctor Strangelove, that's right there. And also the fact that those two villains always fell to their quote unquote deaths after the end of every adventure, and then they just came back the next issue.
You are nothing more than a criminal clown, Joker. Well, I was trained by the Führer himself to be Germany's greatest warrior. Yeah, well, I always buy American myself. Boom. So.
That's a good
give up
one.
Skull. Yes. Now give up Skull, and maybe I'll let Batman put you in a nice cozy cell for the rest of the war. Never. I will. 8, 9. And then they both fall out with the bomb.
Now let me ask you this
Yes.
next panel with the actual bomb. Would you count that as a kind of a homage to the Kirby collages?
Oh, the next page.
Yes, as in, because no, the next one.
That right there.
A little more, a little bit more. Go down, scroll down. There you go, right there with the huge big explosion.
Oh, it's probably going slow.
Yeah, it's going.
Explosion part. Oh yes, it's taking a second.
The way it looks, like ultra realistic, reminds me a little bit of the Kirby
Right
collage.
there?
Yes, well, yeah, right there.
It could be. No, I mean it's definitely
Like,
it's really nice art. I can tell you that much.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
yes.
So So like I said, Joker. I mean, I guess everything's fine, even though a bomb like that just went off over the Atlantic. I guess it's not so bad. It went off into the water. Joker and Red Skull are gotta be toast. They cannot come back from that.
Maybe not. You never know.
I know.
Can't keep a good villain down.
No, that's true. And anyway, so again, very simple story. They've won. Batman and Captain America and Bucky and Robin save the day. And then we cut to this epilogue was in the original comic, right?
It was. And I'm gonna tell you.
I'm just saying I forgot it. The reason why I mentioned that is because I've been reading Generations, and I was like, did he add that later? But I just don't remember. I agree. I hear you.
When we finish the comic, I'm going to tell you why.
Okay, so let's finish it up real quick then.
Yes.
So everyone, epilogue. The day is saved. Again, as you can all observe, this is a very simplistic, very simple, rightly so, Golden Age type fun story with really great art and just fun seeing Batman and Cap. Sure, you could have wanted for a lot more, like them to do more together, but that's a good mark of a good story. You'd love to see them meet again. Anyway. Epilogue, the North Atlantic, 20 years later. Looks like Joker Jr. has given us the slip this time. I'm afraid you're right, Dick. And it turns out, of course, what is Bruce? What is it, Bruce? Of course, that's Batman. And it's Dick Grayson is Batman. Love that with the yellow bat. He looks perfect. And then Sonar is picking up a weird cavitation in the blah, 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 whatever. So that's Bruce Wayne Jr. They find someone in the ice. I guess the Avengers weren't around to find this because Namor didn't come out and throw it.
You mean El Niño Sin Amor?
Oh, yeah. The more. Yeah. So,
God.
I hate it.
Started on that.
Oh, no. It's a man, all right. According to these readings, he's still alive. And, of course, instead of the Avengers pulling him out, everyone, it is Captain America. And when he meets Batman and Robin, they automatically show, hey, it's Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne Jr. Then later we go back to the Batcave, and there's our story ends in the Batcave where Captain America has been brought back 20 years later, but this time in a universe that apparently contains both Marvel and DC superheroes. Boy, I would love to see more of that universe. It is so. But here, welcome back, Captain America. Special thanks to Rascally Roger Stern for suggesting this epilogue. JB.
Exactly. And the reason that I know that came out, that epilogue was in the original comic book when it came out, is because you said, I know you have questions. Don't worry. We're going to go see Clarence. So we went to see Clarence good friend Clarence, and he showed me he had a book that was Batman in the 50s, and he goes, "Read this story," and he gave me
Oh
the
yeah, one
story.
of those.
The
Yeah, I
first
got you.
appearance of Bruce Wayne Jr. and Dick Grayson as Batman.
Batman from the 30s to the 70s. I have that book.
Right, but no, you didn't have it on hand at that moment, so we had to go to Clarence's house, and he let me read it. And the thing is,
Really?
it's hilarious because you have the Batman symbol with a Roman numeral 2.
Two on it.
Robin symbol with the Roman numeral 2. Because they're Batman 2 and Robin 2.
Thank you so much, Cardinal Sin. Thank you for that, everyone, for the gifting of the memberships. I really appreciate you're too kind. And yes, in the memory of Kirstie Alley, we talked about it at the beginning of the show, Cardinals. Very sad. Rest in peace, dear Kirstie. That's just a damn shame. Wonderful, lovely lady, and that is just terrible. So
yeah, I remember one of her first movies that I remember her from is a horrible movie with Tom Selleck called The Runaways that I loved when I saw.
I remember that. Oh yeah.
She was the sexy girl there, and believe it or not, Gene Simmons, the guy from Kiss, he was the bad guy in Runaways.
I remember. Oh yeah.
He just did a concert in Mexico City.
Oh, okay.
Kiss was in Mexico City.
Yes,
I was
indeed.
there, my girl was there. I'm like, what is she doing there? She was born in '99.
Wow. But yeah, everybody, that is, we're not done yet for the show, but that's the end of the review there. I'm gonna ask Carlos here. Overall wrap up thoughts of Batman Captain America. What do you think of it? How you rate it? How did it age over time? What do you go on with a little bit of a basic wind up of this comic?
Well, I give this comic book a very, very high rating in the art department because I really love the art, in the story, in the dynamism of it, in the fun of it. It is, as you mentioned, not a very complicated story, very straightforward story. But by placing it in the 1940s, you have that vibe. You can get away with doing a simple story because it's a simpler time. And of course, by then I had read stuff like, Daredevil Born Again, Batman Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One, Watchmen, Swamp Thing, V for Vendetta, which are more complex comics. They have more to say. And you can read Watchmen 10 years later and you can still find new stuff to get lost in, new stuff that's in the art, in the minutia of the art, in the minutia of the text, you can still find new stuff. But this is straightforward and it does the best thing that a comic book can do. You get to the end and you're smiling. You had fun. You lost yourself in this wonderful world for 15 minutes, for 20 minutes. You enjoyed your time with the characters. It's easy to reread. It has you can revisit this comic book many, many, many times and you will not be bored. You will always end up with a smile. You don't want to feel like, oh, maybe they should have done this different. Maybe you should have done this different. So it has a very high rating to me, like an 8. It's not perfection because perfection, that's Watchmen. That's anything that is done by Alan Moore, who's just my favorite writer of all time. But it's a very, very, very solid book. And like I said, it benefits from the moment when it was published, because if it was published in the 80s, it would have been another good comic, but another good Batman Captain America comic. But during the time when it was published in the late 90s or mid 90s, late 90s.
Yeah, mid-late, yeah.
It was a horrible time for comics. It was a horrible time.
Especially big too, yeah.
Valiant was in its decline. Image Comic Books was just pumping out garbage. DC and Marvel were just
yes.
I mean, Marvel was in the verge of bankruptcy every day, and it was an economic bankruptcy, but it was also in a bankrupt of good ideas. I mean, when they got to the point where they introduced a character called Nightwatch, which is a copy of Spawn. When one of the big two comic book publishers are imitating lame ass characters like Spawn, you know there's problems.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
there was a lot of sadness for me as a comic book reader in the 90s, and reading books like this just reminded me of why I read comic books. And then of course, you like right after this, we got Astro City, which of course again reminded me that there can be great comic books in the world.
Right.
And then
Yes.
Then we get Supreme, which is to me
Supreme. Love it.
it's this love letter to the comic books that I love. It's a love letter to the comic
Absolutely.
books where good triumphs over evil constantly. There's always darkness, but there's also a dawn. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that kind of was just so perfectly personified by those Supreme comic books and everything that Alan Moore did for Image. In fact, one of the things that that happened during the 90s was something that Alan Moore makes a point to note in two of his comic books. One is in Pictopia. If any of you guys
I've talked about that here. I love it. I love it.
In Pictopia, because it just shows you how a wonderful, beautiful world can be turned to total just shit, just garbage, just darkness, by losing that humor, by losing that innocence, And the same thing he mentions in this great comic book called Judgment Day, which is ties into Youngblood, Glory, and Supreme, which were the titles that he wrote. And there's a really great part in Judgment Day that I was reading. A character who is very sad character, very lonely character, very rage-filled character, gets a book, and this book is the story of the world. And you can change the story of the world to accommodate your worldview.
Great comic, yeah.
So, of course, this character, because he has all this sadness inside, this rage inside, this hate inside, changes the world into this horrible place where mutants and cyborgs fight in this post-apocalyptic horrible world. And he says, he mentions that he works a reverse alchemy, and makes the world go from a golden age to a silver age to a dark age. And that's exactly what happened with comic books. We had the golden age, which was just filled with innocence, and we had the silver age. And then like right after Gwen Stacy died, people learned the wrong lessons from that issue. And they thought that, making everything, grim and gritty and realistic and dark and horrible was the way to go. And no, some like even Born Again has a dark beginning, but as the character goes, there's hope at the end. Same with Dark Knight Returns. It starts, Batman, a suicidal Batman, but at the end, he's hopeful for a new beginning. And that's the part that nobody got, especially Zack Snyder when he did Watchmen and Batman versus Superman. He only got the dark part. He only understood the dark part.
It's all he cares about. So yeah, you're right.
He was only attracted to the darkness. He forgot the light. And then, like I remember watching Man of Steel, which I really enjoyed the first time.
Man of Steel.
Exactly. And then you see his whole plan for Superman, and you go, oh my God, he did 3 movies where he's nothing.
Mopey Man, yay! Sucks to be me. So you got powers like that, and you're bummed out by it. It's a shame because what a good casting. The guy's a great actor.
I have hope. I have hope that now that he's back, spoiler for Black Adam. Now that he's back, we can get a really good, Superman sequel. But you can only hope. But that's the thing, about this comic book, that it reminded me when I needed it to be reminded of it, why I read comic books. This is the reason that I read comic books, not to be depressed, not to be filled with darkness and hopelessness. It's absolutely so I can smile and say, my God, this is what it means to be a hero. To put yourself in danger for other people, to put yourself in harm's way, to defend an ideal that is greater than yours. That's what Captain America stands for. That's what Batman stands for.
Right.
Batman, he is the wall against the darkness. He will protect a city that is sliding ever more into darkness, but he will fight against that darkness. And Captain America, he's the shield that protects that he protects the world. That's
Yes.
it's beautiful heroes and just working together, fighting these horrible corrupt villains. I mean, it was just a fun read. And that's
Yep.
that's the best you can ask for a comic. It's a fun read and that it stays with you forever. 30 years later, we're still talking about this comic book. See?
Very well said. A very good point. And I'm right there with you as well. That is what, again, I agree with everything you said. I don't even have to say much about it other than it just is so much fun to go back and revisit it. It hits on everything that you want to see from a comic, because let's face it, most people, 90% of people who are comics fans even in their late adulthood, started as kids. Not everybody. I mean, there are people, they're outliers. In other words, you might run into somebody who just, I never got into comics. And they met somebody in college and they turned them on the comics. It happens. But for the most part, especially with the superhero genre, you started as a very young kid. In my case, 2 years old, with Adam West Batman, and then later in the comics. So my love of superheroes starts from infancy.
Yes.
And most people start around that point where however they get. So I don't care, even with some of the brilliant things Alan Moore has done or whatever. Hello there, Ezra Goldstein. Welcome. Good to see you, my friend. And I'll get to this question in just a second, everybody. That it all starts in your childhood. So anytime something can make you, any comic book with superheroes that makes you feel like a kid again is doing what it's supposed to do. Because let's face it, comic books in their infancy, yes, they were aimed at young boys. Not that young girls can't like them too. Of course they can. But they were marketed at young boys and then pre-adolescents. That's just what they were. And when these things make you feel like a kid again and teach you all the things you learned from comics about heroism and all those wonderful things with your favorite superheroes, and you can read them later as a very, very old man like me and still have that fun feel and make you feel like a kid again, that's special. And that's why this is a special, very, very simplistic comic, because we've said, everyone, Burns' art, probably I think this is his finest work in terms of inking himself, in my opinion, pencils and inks that he's ever done, because I don't usually like when he does that. And as far as the story, I've never been big on his writing too much. He's written some things that I have liked, certainly. This one, there's almost not, it's a very, very thin story, but that's okay. It so works. And that's the brilliance of this book, actually, because all the stuff you heard Carlos just say, this works on an incredible level because it does have a very simplistic story, and yet it stirred up so many emotions in him, because that's the key. He knew to be understated with his story, and he would still grab viewers. He knew that or readers whom the readers that he was targeting, and which is brilliant, great stuff. A wonderful comic, very highly rated by me too. As well I definitely give it probably an 8 out of 10 on the rating scale that we use for our comics and stuff like that. And so if you have not read this, of course, we've shown you, we talked about, we've kind of spoiled it a little bit for you, but this kind of good thing about it is it's not really much you can spoiler. You could go read this 20 times and have a lot of fun reading it and looking at the art, and just a sensational job. So
exactly. And now that you mentioned something that resonates with me about, when we start reading comic books, we usually are very young, and comic books kind of become our teachers in a way, to teach us how to, behave in certain ways.
Right.
And it's kind of funny because it's a long story. I'm not going to get into the details, but sometimes people have asked me why I don't do drugs, why I don't smoke, why I don't drink any alcohol ever in my life. They go, is it because you like working out? Is it because you're on a diet? Is it because, and you go, no. Batman would not approve. That is my answer. And I go, I'm sorry if it's not good enough for you, but it's true. Just Batman does not smoke. He does not drink. He does not do drugs.
There you go. No, I got you. That's admirable.
He has taught me this. He has taught me these wonderful lessons of life. And so when I read a comic book like this and I see the character that I fell in love with being represented so well, I go, of course, I gravitate to stories like this, that upheld those ideals.
Absolutely. Phantom Outsider, good to see you, buddy. Claude Salling. And let's see here. Cardinal Sin, thank you, buddy, for the $20 super chat. You are too kind. I really appreciate that, buddy. And I'll get to your question in a second. Darcipio has a question for you, Carlos. But
Yes.
Cardinal Sin says, sorry to be off topic. That's okay, buddy. We finished our topic now. We've talked about the comic. It's not we're in extra hours, extra innings, so it's cool, and we appreciate you. He says, but feeling great after seeing Violent Night in the theater tonight. It delivered on all levels. I heartily recommend it. 10 out of 10. Maybe the best movie I've seen in the theater all year. It's a classic. Well, there you go. That contrasts what our buddy J-Man said, who gave it a 4 out of 10. So we have one good buddy with a 4 out of 10. We have another good buddy with a 10 out of 10. So there you go, folks. There's a big movie recommendation for you from our good buddy Gil, Cardinal Sin. Linrod, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for being here. So there you go, folks. There's a movie recommendation if you have not seen Violent Night.
It's JT Cole said something. Doesn't Bruce Wayne drink in the Batman in the Dark Knight trilogy? No.
No, he fakes it.
If there's a very good scene, great scene in the second movie, The Dark Knight. He toasts to Harvey Dent, but he doesn't drink. He just toasts to Harvey Dent. Then he goes outside to the veranda and he throws the drink over. Right. And then Rachel comes.
And then other times he could fake it with ginger ale and crap like that. Yeah.
In whatchamacallit, in the Batman 89, he does drink, but I don't count that as that's a Tim Burton movie. That's not a Batman movie.
Yeah.
And in the Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, James Gordon and Bruce Wayne are toasting with real alcohol because Batman has just gone crazy. And as they're toasting, Commissioner Gordon says that he blames himself not noticing that Bruce Wayne always drank ginger ale in every party.
Right. Did he really drink it in the Keaton thing, or was he just like holding a drink or something, pretending that or whatever?
Well, he drunkenly sleeps with Vicky Vale. If he was not drunk, then...
Oh, yeah, they did have wine, but I think he was faking. Darth Scipio, hey, buddy, thank you for being here. Yeah, he wants to know. Carlos at Comics Mania, have you seen Metallica in concert? They play in Mexico City on a regular basis. Are you from Mexico City, Darth, or whatever? So have you seen Metallica?
No. I don't go to concerts because I get too annoyed with when they have too much people around me. I get like all I get all freaked out.
Not big in the crowds.
One, and also even though I respect Metallica and I think they're a great band and they're a great metal band, I'm more into pop. I'm more into Backstreet Boys and One Direction and
I hope you're kidding.
No, I'm not.
Are you in the Backdoor Boys?
Yeah, I love the Backstreet Boys. Yeah, I in fact, let me show you. I will prove this to you.
You don't have to prove it to me.
No, well, but to your listeners, let me see. Let me show you right here. This is my my Spotify list. If you can see right there, we got everybody. We got Poker Face. We got Big Girl.
Wow.
We got On My Heart. So there you go. Yeah, I like Britney Spears. I like the Spice Girls and NSYNC right there. This is what I listen to when I'm lifting weights. So
don't worry, people. He still mostly has good taste in comics, but sometimes that's even questionable.
Well, yeah. But look,
he won't admit this to you, but I am the arbiter of whether he has good taste in comics or not. So.
I look really good as Batman, so there you go.
Yep, there you go.
That plus
exactly.
I have that going for me. And wait, let me show you guys. And this is
Darth Scipio said he lived in Mexico City in Tlapan for 10 years. Okay, gotcha.
That's my bonus.
Nice. Oh, cool. Very nice. Yep. But don't worry, everyone. He usually has good taste in comics, but there are times I have to correct him on his taste in comics, of course.
Well, yeah, right.
Nice bike. That's very cool. My motorcycle.
Thank you very much.
I didn't realize you were riding a bike around.
Yeah, I do. I had a car, and then the car it was just too old, so I sold it. Didn't have enough money for another car, so I bought a bike. And let me tell you,
badass. Be careful. It's cool.
Yeah. The first day I drove it, I fell down. Horrible. But in Mexico City, we have a lot of traffic. I mean, it's you have no idea. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's LA traffic.
Worse than New Orleans, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Because New Orleans has gotten worse since you left. But yeah, it's bad.
Oh no! It's awful. It's the worst traffic ever, because it gets to the point where you can't move. I mean, from my house to the airport in the day
The
with
Wesleys.
the
Backdoor boys. He says I like to call them the Wesleys. That's a low blow.
Stop it! I love the back, and I can sing and dance all their songs. But that's not the point. That's not the point. So the thing is, from my house to the airport, it's around 18 minutes with no traffic. Right now, to come from Mexico to Cancun, where I am right now, because there was traffic and rain, and Mexican people cannot drive, especially in Mexico City.
All this Mexican bash is coming from a guy in Mexico, folks, not me. Just letting you know.
I am Mexican.
He can bash himself all he wants in his country.
In Mexico City, you can get away from the cops, and you can get away from any ticket if you just pay them up. So there's no biggie. So people just do ridiculous things when they're driving, and like I'm on my bike, and they don't care. They throw their car at me. They don't care. And people that are in bicycles, they think they own the road as well. So they, of course,
that's everywhere. Yeah, they all are like
that. It's crazy. But
hey, Masters Maniac Mexico's here. Speaking of Mexicans, he says I'm riding a bike here. I'm riding a bike here too. 16 centimeter, like a 1600 centimeter, a CSCM, whatever that is. Greets from Octopec from a German living in Mexico. So you're. Okay, so it's a German living in Mexico. There you go.
Hey, well, I'm living in Mexico City, and I don't drive a bicycle, but I'm really into using skates. I skate a lot. I rollerblade.
Oh wow, cool.
It's great exercise. So I since last we talked, I have a motorcycle and I have rollerblades. So yeah, I do that. It's just a lot easier. It's a lot easier to get around on a motorcycle in Mexico City. It's crazy. The traffic is nuts, but of course it's very dangerous. But again,
yes, I've heard that.
But you look really cool on a bike. And let me tell you,
that's all that really counts when you think about it. Yeah.
One time I was asked to go to the Batman premiere, so I went there with my Batman costume and with
on the
Batman.
bike.
And yeah, let me show you. Let's see if I have the video.
Here, we'll I'll put you on the big screen there. Let's see if anybody can see that. Whoa, look at that. It's Batman, folks. Look at that, folks. Isn't that cool? That's badass, buddy.
I'm right there in the movie theater.
I got the bat here, folks.
People went nuts when they saw the bike. Like that.
He is Batman. He is vengeance. He is the night.
No. It's I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. That's the correct way to say it.
I've heard it both ways, but no, you're right. You're right. But yeah, dude. So yeah, this is.
I am the night.
We'll have to think of some other comics to review. So soon we're going to tackle Watchmen. We're going to tackle Watchmen. Yes. I mean the whole shooting match.
Well,
the whole shooting match.
The one cool thing about Watchmen, one cool thing, just everything's cool about Watchmen. But if you read it, I mean, I've read it so many times as you have. Like every issue has a different tone. Every issue has a different way to tell the story. Because if you look at the Rorschach issue or the Dr. Manhattan issue, they're just two different things. If you look at what was it, Absent Friends, at the second issue, it's a whole different thing. Mm-hmm. You know.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah. Only real deal Watchmen, of course. Only the real one. Only the real deal one. None of that fake crap.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like why Alan Moore always said this is unadaptable to any other medium, is because if you look at a movie, it just looks very episodic because it doesn't flow together because every character that you're focusing on tells his story a different way. So it's
yes. Good night, Maddie's daddy, and now he just hates it. So, but anyway, that's his business. More.
Well, more.
He hates it. He's nuts. Dude, let him have it. Let him hate what he wants to hate, but he does hate it. He hates comics. He hates comic movies. He hates superheroes. The guy's crazy.
The Killing Joke is one of the best Batman comic books, one of the best Joker comic books I've ever read in my life. And he says that, It's okay. I didn't put I
don't even
regret doing it.
I wouldn't even put it in my top 10. I wouldn't even put it in my top 10 more stories though.
I love it. It's one of my favorite ones. It's a Batman story. It's a Joker story.
Oh yeah, I know.
Love it.
He's let him look.
It's amazing.
He just got old and weirder. Not weirder. So what are you gonna? He says all kind of crazy shit about. So he's been saying some really nutty stuff lately to get attention. So what are you gonna do?
Well, Swamp Thing. My God, I love Swamp Thing so much. It's just a wonderful horror comic.
You don't like a show where we talked about all of his best stuff.
I don't like horror comics, and I've read Swamp Thing like 3 times. From beginning to end. Love it. And everybody's like, "Oh, Sandman is the greatest thing ever." No. Swamp Thing is better. I like Sandman. Swamp Thing is better.
Indeed, sir. But yeah, they're all kind of cool stuff. We got all kind of reviews planned. It worked out pretty well. The comic book review this year, back when I first started on YouTube, Mark, the great Mark C and I, we reviewed a couple of comics, and then right before he passed, we planned to do the Silence and Thor run.
Let me tell you something. And one comic that I would love to go through, like again, scene by scene, page by page, is one that's a more comic that I didn't know existed, and you told me about it. We were talking about it. I was just saying how much I love his work here and there, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, "So, what do you think about The Man Who Has Everything?" I'm like, "The Man Who Has what? You haven't read that?"
That's one that we need to review that. But...
You haven't read that? I'm like, "No, what are you talking about?" And then you told me about
Superman Annual number 11.
Superman Annual number 11. And then you told me the story because, you don't care about spoiling things for me. So you told me about, the Black Mercy. And then I remember something because, like I said, I remember everything that I read. And I remember that in the Who's Who entry of Mongol, they mentioned the Black Mercy. I had not read that comic book, and I did not know that it was an Alan Moore comic, but that I knew that it was, something important because it was mentioned in Who's Who. And then you mentioned, and you said, "Yeah, the Black Mercy." And he goes, "Okay, I have to find it." We were at BSI, and of course, they didn't have it. So I had to go to BSI's competition. I forget the name of that store. You remember you hated the lady.
That family.
Yeah. So I went there. They had it there. For a good price. It was like, I don't know, like $3, $5, whatever. I bought it. And then I started reading, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. And it's Dave Gibbons' artwork. Beautiful, beautiful comic. I love it.
Well, we're going to review that.
Yes.
Anyway, let's see. When I first started out here 2.5 years ago, first thing we reviewed was Justice by Alex Ross and Jim Kruger. Which was great. Mark and I reviewed that. Then we reviewed The Coming of Galactus. And we had planned, we did a lot of shows together. Unfortunately, he passed, but we were going to do Simonson's Thor run. That's what he wanted to do. And we were getting ready. And unfortunately, as you know, he got sick and we weren't able to do it eventually when he passed. And so I went like a year just not reviewing comics because I don't know, it didn't feel right. So then last year, at the outset of this year now, wow, can't believe it's almost the end of this year, I brought the review thing back. And at the beginning of January of this year, Max von Priestley, a sporting, spiffing bloke, he and I reviewed Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I started from there. Let's see, my good buddy, the great Mark D with a C. What's up, dude? Good to see you. Anyway, he and I reviewed some stuff you would enjoy. We reviewed the great Marvel 201 Annual number 7, one of your favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Champion. It's a great comic. One of the great Thing stories ever.
Oh God, yes. Where he fights the champion in a boxing ring and doesn't give up.
Yeah, we reviewed that. Let's see. Another friend and I were
like that. And then the next issue is him and Sandman just talking.
Oh yeah. Let's see what else have we reviewed. So over the year now, I've reviewed that. See if I can remember them all. With other different, various people, right? Wolverine miniseries, the real and the original. Daredevil Born Again, Kingdom Come, for the This Man, This Monster, the Hercules Prince of Power miniseries, the Batman Hulk team up, the Batman for Superman Spider-Man team up. I'm just naming them at random, not in particular order. Oh man, a few other things here and there that I'm drawing a blank on now. J-Man and I are gonna be reviewing some Bob Haney stuff and various things. So I think the next thing maybe you and I should review whatever happened. Excuse me, for the man who has everything.
Yeah, and another one that I would love to review that nobody ever talks about anymore, and is one of my favorite comic books of all time. And I think it's because of when it came out. It came out around the same time as Kingdom Come, and everybody was talking about Kingdom Come because that's like a very iconic comic book.
Mm-hmm.
The Golden Age.
That's another one on the list, and that I would
Love
do. And
Age.
I'll
Love
put
it.
you on the list for that.
Love it.
Like I said, I've got various people. If you want to be the one to do that with me, then you're on, dude.
I love that. For some reason, around that time, the JSA became kind of like my go-to team. Just like I love the Justice League, but there was something so beautiful about the JSA. These original characters, and they were the mentors. Now they were these very silly, kind of innocent characters. And that's what I love about those 10 issues, the Justice Society of America, 10 issues drawn by Mike Parabek. Len Straczynski is the writer.
Yeah, I think it's like 11 issues, right? 10, 11
No,
issues?
10, just 10. It was canceled.
Okay.
It was canceled.
Yeah, it was a great book. That we should review one day. Let's review that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I beg you to read that because you refuse to read it.
Of course, you should always beg. Carlos has another question. We'll get out of here as soon as we do this question, folks, and we'll get running in a minute.
Yeah.
Carlos Clobberin Times. Have you read Dark Horse Aliens, Predator, and Aliens Predator comics? I've read some of them. I read something like Batman Predator. I don't know if hey, Classic Comics. Good to see you there, buddy. I don't know if I read all of them, but I've read a few.
I think I have read, but the thing is, The Golden Age is better than Watchmen. I'm not even gonna argue with.
Yeah, I don't think it's better. I don't think it's anywhere close to Watchmen, but I do like it. Yeah,
I love
the Classic Comics, and I'll watch that. I'll watch that video if you make it.
Golden Age, I love it. But here, as I was saying,
I think you love it to pieces. Really, if you think about it,
I'm gonna kill you. I will kill you. So here's the thing. One time, John Byrne was talking about RoboCop, how they wanted to do a RoboCop adaptation and like a RoboCop comic, and they asked
man. Go ahead.
They asked him if he wanted to do it, and he said, "I don't think it's a good idea because the cool thing about RoboCop is how he looks at things and how you see through his eyes, how he talks, how he moves, and you have this image of RoboCop that was so beautifully well done in the movie by Peter Weller and of course the director, that just having it like on a 2D page is not enough. So that's my problem, or at least the problem that I had with Predator and Aliens versus Predator, because I read the first few issues of those comics.
Yeah, I never read them much. Yeah.
With the Predator, the original one that came out billions of years ago in the 90s, I read the first issues where it's Arnold Schwarzenegger's character's brother, who's a cop in New York. And I read it, and it's like it wasn't bad. I mean, the art was nice, but the thing is, I wanted to see the Predator. How he moves, how he like hides with his what's it? The thing that makes
it works better for movies. Yeah,
because I saw the Predator first as a movie. Seeing him as a comic book was not enough. And then when I read the first issue or 2 issues of Aliens versus Predator, again, it did not grab me because you're so used to seeing the aliens and the Predator in movies and seeing them how they act in movies, how they kill, and they're ultra violent, gory movies, and just seeing them in comic books was just not enough to get to me. Like the only Aliens versus something that I kind of liked was Aliens versus Stormwatch. There's a really good comic book, and then from that, Stormwatch became The Authority. That was a really good comic book. And also, and this was just because I really liked the character, Predator versus Magnus Robot Fighter.
I got that one.
Those 2 issues were really good.
I remember that.
Did not like the first Batman versus Predator book because I didn't think the writing was that good. I think it was Dave Gibbons.
Dave Gibbons wrote it. Yeah.
The
I
art,
love Gibbons, but he shouldn't be
the
writing
art
it.
was really good, but the story wasn't that great. But they did
Yeah.
a third versus Batman versus Predator 3, and that one was really good. That one I remember. Really
I bought a lot. I bought Tarzan Predator, Magnus Predator, Batman Predator, but I didn't buy all of them, but I bought a few here and there. Cardinal Sin, thank you, buddy, for the $2 super chat. He says, I still have the original Batman versus Dracula. I think I remember that.
Yeah. It was
Thank
Doug
you.
Bench. It was Doug Bench and Kelly Jones.
Yes.
No, wait. No. It wasn't. The original Batman versus
Was it
Dracula
Matt
was
Wagner?
that's
No.
Neil Adams way long ago. And then
Neil
they had a Batman versus Count Orlok or something like that, drawn by Mike
he
Grell.
I think he means the Batman versus Dracula special, though, not like from a regular comic.
Okay. Well, because there was one time where I think it was a Neil Adams one where Batman fought a vampire, maybe it was Dracula, and then there was one where drawn by Mike Grell where Batman fought a vampire. And I remember that comic book gave me my first nightmare. After reading that, I dreamt that I was being chased by a vampire. I swear, I read the comic book, Batman fought a vampire. I went to sleep. I dreamt that vampire was chasing me. And the only way to free myself of this vampire was if I yelled Shazam and turned into Captain Marvel.
That works.
I did. I yelled Shazam and I woke up. I still remember my first nightmare. Weird. But
my friends, I tell you what, I want to thank you all for being with us here tonight. I've had so much fun. I want to thank, of course, the great Carlos from Comics Mania. There's a link in my description below to his channel. Even if you don't speak Mexican, I'm teasing him, calling Mexican. It's Spanish. I know, I'm messing with it. But even if you don't speak Spanish, and it is a Spanish-speaking channel, please go and subscribe to that, of course. Subscribe to all of my good friends. There are links in my description below for all my friends' great channels. Show notes. Tomorrow night, I'll be on Midnight's Edge After Dark at 6:05 p.m. with Tom and the Mead gang there, I hope. Wednesday night, I will be on Loki's channel with the Comic Book Roundtable, I hope, if we're having it. I never know for sure if he's having it or not. If he's having it, I'll be there. If not, that's okay too, because we leave that up in the air. It happens, but we understand. Then 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Wednesday night. Wild card Wednesday night. I'm having wild card filled up. It's going to be the great retro blasting. Michael French is going to join me, and we're just going to hang out and talk. Maybe, I don't know, just all things geek. Like it always, so much fun hanging out with the great Michael French. Really looking forward to that.
Remember the first time we met, you and I and Michael and Melinda, we stayed up geeking out until 3 a.m.
That was a lot of fun. Way back in the good old days when we met him at the first time you got to meet him was all hanging out at DragonCon 2014. Yeah.
2014.
Let's see. Indeed. Fun times. Let's see. Thursday night, I'll be back with the Mead gang at 6 p.m. Central again, hanging with Tom and that illustrious crowd. And then Thursday night, of course, Clobby'S Clubhouse, as always, with my wonderful first officer, Raquel, the author, by the way, of Science Fiction Tales, and the great Mark D with a C, our fantastic chief engineer. And then I'll be with Nick and the gang on Friday night with the comic shop gang, hanging out with those boys, talking some comics. And then Saturday night, Star Trek. We are, it'll be 9 p.m. Central, same Trek time, same Clobby channel. We are going to have 4 more episodes of Deep Space Nine. Last week we just started the review of the 4th season. We're reviewing all of Real Trek 605. And so yeah, going to have some fun with that as always. And big shout out to the great Mark D with a C, our chief engineer. If you're too busy, dude, it's fine. But if you want to pop in and say hello anytime tonight or tomorrow, you can. But it's up to you. But anyway, just let's see. Please go to his channel and subscribe. He's doing these shorts, of course, and we got Sunday Night Geekery, 10 p.m. Eastern every Sunday night. Been having a lot of fun on that. And yeah, that's our messaging now. I want to thank everyone for being here with us tonight. You guys are extraordinary. Thank you, Cardinal Sin. Thank you, Day Dad, man. Good to see you. Classic Comics. Good to see you guys popping in here. Ezra Goldstein, Phantom Outsider, of course, all of you. The lovely Nami, my new friend Nami popped in. It was great to see you. I hope you were doing well, feeling better.
That's from One Piece, right?
So what's that now?
Nami, that's from One Piece, right?
Oh, yeah, she is a big One Piece fan, as a matter of fact, just as my son is. I didn't know you knew about One Piece. Am I supposed to say Nami or Nami? How do you say it? Nami or Nami?
Nami. The thing is,
Nami
here in
works with
Mexico,
me.
believe it or not, here in Mexico, anime is huge, bigger than comic books.
Oh, yeah.
Huge.
I know. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I just didn't know how you pronounce it, but my son would. I could have asked my son, but I didn't realize. I knew she was a big One Piece fan. I just didn't know that was from that because I don't know much about it. Even though he's constantly, that's his favorite thing in the world is Young Piece. One Piece. You haven't seen my son since he was a toddler, but that's his thing.
Well, my 9-year-old niece has just found out about Pokemon. I'm like, oh my god, no! Don't memorize Pokemon.
Mine loved that too. That was right up my kids loved that as well. Anyway, great shout out to the great Eric K, the Bronze Wrencher. Thank you, buddy, for being here tonight. The Vindicator Wrench of the North, Chris Persier. Thank you for all you do, buddy. I really appreciate you. David Martin, the Wrench of Iron. Tusco was robbed. The great Lord Thoth. Avon lives. Long live the Legion. And Fanty Outsider, you old rascal. Good to see you, dude. And Apollo Dominion Pupper Dog, just because I like showing the puppy. And Apollo, I hope you're doing well and feeling well. And again, thank you all for being here with us tonight. All of you. Just really appreciate it. And have a fantastic JT Kirk. Good to see you, buddy. Everybody. Darcipio, thank you for being here. I don't have the whole list of everybody. Otherwise, I'd shout you all out, but I have to. It takes forever. You all know that. And I don't want to keep you. Masters Maniac to Mexico, though. MMM. Good to see you, buddy. Shout out to all of you. Thank you all so much. Please have a wonderful remainder of your week and see you back here soon. Oh, and of course, yes. Difficulties. Yes, rest in peace. Beautiful Kirstie Alley. So sorry about that, my dear. Just so sorry to hear about that. Good night, everybody.
I just love clobbering time.